how to experience the world as never before. Take a giant leap beyond the imagination into the super real to explore nature and the culture, myth, and legend that surround it. To see animals as they really are, we need to strip away their natural surroundings. For Eyewitness, the filmmakers designed a whole new environment where this could happen. The Eyewitness Museum, created to house a limitless range of subjects under one electronically generated roof. Let's see how the museum was built. Like most buildings, this one started out with careful planning. What should be the shape of the building? How many floors? How many rooms? In an electronic building, the camera can fly in any direction, defying gravity. The objects in the museum also need to be built. Once programmed into the computer, the plane is as good as real and can be lit and viewed from any angle. The final choice rests with the designer. In the museum, we can recreate the past. The computer can create a dinosaur as convincingly as it can an airplane. Now we have an exciting building and models, but there's more to come. Real animals. Incorporating live action into this electronic world was the biggest challenge. Just to build the underwater room took weeks, combining layers of film, graphics, and specially shot fish edited together to create the finished effect. And that was only the beginning. Each of the 13 Eyewitness programs set out to capture the essence of its subject animal. In Horse, the role the animal has played in history and culture is a central theme, so Alexander the Great and Napoleon were invited into the Eyewitness studio. But in order to tell the story of Paul Revere's midnight ride, the cameras were taken into a real forest. To bring a legend to life was one challenge. To recreate a myth was even more difficult. To make a flying horse, two elements were needed: a silhouetted horse filmed at sunset, and the flapping wings of a swan. In the edit, the wings of the swan were superimposed onto the back of the horse to create an illusion of Pegasus in flight. Color added the finishing touches. But the anatomy of an ordinary horse is just as wondrous. In fish, the salmon was chosen as the central animal. The biggest challenge in this program was how to photograph underwater creatures against a clean white background. Filming began first on a salmon farm to provide backgrounds of rushing water. A camera tied to a stick is hardly high-tech, but it does the job. To photograph the fish, a huge tank was set up to create a current in which the fish could swim. The results were good, but far from perfect. To achieve a crystal clear image, it was decided to adopt a completely new approach. Take the fish to the Eyewitness studio. A donut-shaped flow tank was built in the studio. Mostly metal, it had one section made of glass for filming the salmon. This time, the conditions would be perfect to obtain the best possible photographs of the fish. On filling the tank, it was found that plumbing was not the team's strong point. The main concern was, would the fish be happy in the flow tank? To everyone's delight, when the first salmon was dropped in, it immediately began to swim against the current. It seemed like all the hard work was going to pay off. A larger fish was dropped in, and it too seemed content. The success of filming in a flow tank relies totally on adjusting the flow of water around the tank so that fish are comfortable swimming against the current. Finally, a perfect shot of a fish against a blue background was achieved. Using special effects, one fish can become many fish, and blue can become white. How do you explain how a fish moves through water? With a little help from the director, the model could demonstrate the perfect S-wriggle. The fish, of course, don't need a director. To turn a beetle into a bug for the insect program, the process known as morphing was used. First, the outline of the rhino beetle and the car were carefully plotted. Then legs had to be added, separately, because if they were included in the morph, they would spoil the clean transition. The result in slow motion shows a car growing 6 legs before becoming an insect. This effect took around 3 days to accomplish, and in its final form lasts about 4 seconds. But no computer could create an animal as incredible as a praying mantis. Or architecture as impressive as this termite skyscraper, which on a human scale would be 2 miles high. It ventilates a sophisticated network of chambers and tunnels beneath the ground, which houses up to 5 million termites and one massive queen, who lays as many as 30,000 eggs every day. An exceptional opening shot was needed for another program, Skeleton. The director decided to create this optical illusion in 3 dimensions. A perfect introduction to the program's hero, Smedley. Smedley was created using 3D computer-generated graphics. Within the computer, he could do just about anything, walk at different speeds. React. Or refuse to cooperate. Smedley needed his own space in the museum. In the studio, a skeleton room was constructed with every creature comfort. Including a good strong hook on the door which would prove useful during the program. Back at the computer, Smedley was placed carefully in his surroundings. When Smedley escapes from his skeletal room, the production manager lent him a helping boot. Once out, he was free to explore the Eyewitness Museum. During the making of the series, painting things white became a way of life. In Cat, all the preparation had to be complete before the animals were let out onto the set. Big cats demand respect from everyone, especially the cameraman, who could not leave his box while the tigers were out. The cats took half an hour or so to acclimatize themselves before work could begin.
Let him walk out, let him walk out.
They were persuaded to leap onto the cameraman's box. This took some practice, with encouragement and reward. The resulting shot more than justified the time spent. But this shot came as a surprise to everyone, especially the cat. Throughout history, cats have been associated with myth and superstition, the stuff of dreams. A fascinating combination of strength and ruthlessness with beauty and grace. Even the domestic cat, a companion to humans since ancient Egyptian times, retains the spirit of the wild. The opening of the bird program. The egg was first exploded with compressed air and filmed at high speed to create slow motion. The macaws had to be filmed against a neutral background, a different color than the plumage, difficult with one of the most colorful birds in nature. Once the macaws were separated from the background, they could be placed anywhere on the screen in any size and gradually multiplied. Eventually, they filled the egg. Filming in the Eyewitness studio, the art department recreated a realistic forest set against a stark white background. By tracking across the set, the studio is transformed into woodland. The set had to convince not only the viewer, but the animals placed in it. In this case, a pheasant and a fox supplied by an animal sanctuary who felt quite at home on the set. Although the fox was not allowed to get as close to the pheasant as he would have liked. While pheasants can fly only a very short distance, capturing the beauty of these marathon flyers required training and filming by specialists. The terror of the deep. Yet the beauty of these creatures has long been overlooked, and the shark program puts their reputation into perspective. By filming the animals against a neutral blue, the program makers could take sharks out of their natural element. Using similar electronic techniques to those used for the exploding egg, the shark could erupt from the volcano, illustrating an ancient Hawaiian myth that the volcano gave life to the shark. In the amphibian program, the myth of the princess and the frog is reversed with another morph. There are many superstitions surrounding frogs and toads. Perhaps one of the strangest is that toads can be found inside rocks split by lightning. The special effects team designed a rock made of two tightly fitting halves of fiberglass. The atmosphere was provided by dry ice, and the rock was blown apart using compressed air. A small explosive charge provided the flash. Of course, the toads were added later. Elephant presented a bigger challenge to the film crew. A camera rig called a hothead was used. The camera is moved by remote control and mounted on a 20-foot-long crane. Everything had to be ready before this star walked on the set. The hothead rig needed 6 people working in close harmony to the director's instructions. Each move was painstakingly rehearsed before the animal arrived. The camera operator controls the camera with 2 wheels and checks the shot through a monitor. The baby African elephant was everyone's favorite, but would it be afraid of the mouse?
Bring in the mouse. And action, Flora.
Far from shying away, the elephant was keen to make the mouse's acquaintance. But the mouse wasn't so keen and sought the sanctuary of the camera. Animation was required instead to portray the myth. Various kinds of animation were used in Dinosaur. The dinosaurs in the Eyewitness Museum were brought to life inside a 3D graphics computer. Just like paleontologists, the designers started with the skeletons. One way of illustrating the scale of these animals needed 2 elements: live-action earth-moving machinery and animated models. The editor later combined the 2 images to compare the mechanics of the machines with the biomechanics of the dinosaurs. In the studio, a full-size Stegosaurus tail was built from latex, steel, and fiberglass. The model was used in a shot that demonstrated the power of the animal's tail by crashing through a corrugated iron fence. The dinosaur hero legs was made of softer stuff, plasticine. This made him very adaptable, and he could race through millions of years of evolution in less than a minute. It took a little longer to show young Maiasaura hatching. The eggs were laid in circular nests 6 feet across, containing 20 to 25 eggs. The adults shared nesting, feeding, and babysitting duties once the eggs were hatched. Maiasaura means good mother lizard. Less realistic was the dinosaur race. Operated with strings and wires, it was designed to demonstrate the speed of a Tyrannosaurus relative to man, although it's unlikely that the man would finish the race. Hardly high-tech, but a lot of fun.
Turn over.
For Jungle, the art director was asked to build a rainforest inside the Eyewitness studio. He thought it was a joke, at first. After extensive planning, the whole thing happened in 2 days. Tree trunks, both real and manufactured, were put into position. Experts had flown in bushes, flowers, and other plants from all over the world. Vines were attached to the tree trunks. And a carpet of ground vegetation was laid out. Once built, the set had to be made secure. Real animals would be used in filming, so close weave nets were fitted over a scaffold frame. The squirrel monkeys used were provided by a primate sanctuary in Sussex, England. When the monkeys were introduced to the set, they seemed immediately at home, clambering up the branches and stopping for a drink. For these monkeys, it was their first glimpse of the rainforest. These animals had been hand-raised as pets and then cared for by the sanctuary when their owners found them too much to handle. Squirrel monkeys are very inquisitive, and without the nets, they would have run riot all over the studio. In the shots used for the program, the netting was removed electronically to give a clean white background. Nature's version of a high-rise, the rainforest, was displayed as a multi-layer graphic with a watery basement. The ground floor, the understory, middle story, the upper story or canopy, and the emergent zone. The jungle may be a remote place to most people, but its products are used every day all over the world. Filming a gecko through glass, the program makers of Reptile were able to demonstrate its unique grip. Reptiles are one of the oldest animal groups. A crocodile god of fertility, Sobek, was worshipped by the ancient Egyptians. But how did some lizards evolve into snakes? In the Eyewitness Museum's X-ray room, this was graphically illustrated with the use of 3D computer animation. By plotting the changes on a computer, millions of years of evolution were shown in a matter of seconds. Another electronic process was used to tell a shorter story. One of nature's greatest escape tricks is that of the lizard who sheds its tail. But this time, it was not really the snake who removed the lizard's tail, but an image manipulation computer called HOW. HOW also provided the fire. At first, filming for the dog program looked like complete chaos. Only Connell, the hero, behaved like a true professional. But the director knew exactly what she wanted, and after much perseverance, the shots began to take shape. And with a little help from their owners, each dog gave a perfect performance. Nearly. In the final edit, it all came together to create the perfect dog dance. As it began, so the show ends in the Eyewitness Museum, where anything can happen.